Good evening, Aston Villa fans. Welcome to the Villa4Ever podcast. I am your host, Chad Williams. Before we get started, if you are new to this channel, please hit subscribe, and you can follow me on all audio platforms as well. This evening, I'm joined by my special guest, Paddy, who is the co-host of the For the Love of Paul McGrath, the Aston Villa podcast. I'll be doing the pre-match talk show. It's Sunday. It's a 4:30 p.m. kickoff. It is a clash of the Claret and Blues. I'm really looking forward to this game. All right, Paddy, how are you doing?
All right, Chad. I'm very good, thanks. Thank you so much for inviting me onto your podcast. I feel very privileged. You've had some esteemed guests, and then you pick me to come with you, so I feel very, very privileged.
It's great to have you on this show.
Oh, absolutely. I'm absolutely thrilled that you asked me to come on. I'm really looking forward to chatting and getting into this game at West Ham with you.
But I really enjoyed the live podcast that you and Neil did in Dublin in an after lounge.
Yeah, it was a special day, I think, for everyone that was there, and I can't get over the love since we put it out there of how much everyone enjoyed it. So it's kind of given us a kick in the ass now to go and get planning the next one, because I think everybody really enjoyed it and everyone had so much fun and made lots of new friends, as we did too. So I'm looking forward to planning out a new one, and who knows, maybe we might even do one in Birmingham next time.
Because I thought it was very entertaining, with good humour as well.
It was good fun. We had some great guests, and you would have seen Max and Simon from Villa on Tour and Dan Bardell. We'd Adam Slack from the Struts, and then to top it all off, we had the great Ian Taylor at the end, who I think everyone would agree is an absolute hero. And I think he found a whole new merry band of fans on that weekend, because it was absolutely incredible to have him there, because he's just a very infectious guy, obviously a Villa fan like ourselves. So to just sit there and chat to him about Villa and about football, I just can't believe it actually happened. It's amazing.
Well, you and Neil are like a comedy duo.
I don't know whether you laugh at us or laugh with us.
And also, I found it very fascinating, the story about you becoming a Villa fan.
Yeah, I think that was a bit of a shock to everybody. I think most people have watched it, so I'll briefly tell people that I was actually a Liverpool fan when I was very, very young, and Steve Staunton was my hero. And as luck would have it, he moved to Aston Villa, and I moved with him. But I have no doubt in my mind, despite all the trophies and European Cups that Liverpool won, that supporting Aston Villa was the best decision I ever made in my life. For the amazing friends and everything it's given to me, it's just a pleasure to be a Villa fan.
You really idolised Steve Staunton.
I certainly did. I call my son Stephen as well, who's now an adult himself, and thinks it's very funny to be telling people that story. Yeah, but he was like, obviously, I was lucky enough to play as a left back, and he was a left back, and I just kind of modelled my game on him and tried to watch everything that he did, and it was he was such a good player, and he had such a good left foot, and he was never in trouble or anything like that. He was such a great role model that why wouldn't I pick him? It was just the luck that he made me one of the chosen ones. That, when they say you don't choose Aston Villa, it was him that chose Aston Villa for me, and it's probably the best gift anyone has ever given me, I suppose.
Because Aston Villa chooses you.
Absolutely, 100%. And I think everybody out there has a story of how it chose them, and even around the part of the world that you're from, where but for one poor decision, you could have gone to the Hawthorns or to Blues with your uncle or your aunt or your grandmother or your grandfather. So everybody has a little story about how they were chosen, and I think everyone that's chosen is very, very lucky, because despite the fact that we're not winning any major trophies in the last 40 years, it's just an amazing community of amazing people. And, I can't stress enough how blessed I am to feel part of it. Like, this weekend is my first trip to Villa Park this year. Obviously, we've got an 18-year-old starting college and all the expense that comes with that. So we've got to prioritize everything this year. So this is my first trip, and hopefully first of many. And hopefully we get 3 points to make it an even more successful trip.
Because Steve Staunton, was it 1990s he played for Villa? Early 90s? Yeah.
He joined in August 1991. So he was coming off the back of representing Ireland in the World Cup in 1990. He had a really good World Cup. Then he played a really good game against England at Wembley in the March of that year. And, he arrived at Aston Villa in probably what was the best time for Irish fans, and probably what made a lot of Irish fans choose Aston Villa is the fact that he came there with Paul McGrath, with Ray Houghton, with Andy Townsend. And I don't think we ever will again have 4 Republic of Ireland internationals representing Aston Villa. So
that very rarely happens these days.
No, it's very rare. It's very rare you get more than 1 or 2 at any given club. I think since those days there's been such an influx of foreign players, be that for the good or bad, no matter what way you look at it. It is the best league in the world, and people coming from all over the world makes it that. So unfortunately, we won't have all those Irish players representing Aston Villa, but we have been lucky throughout the years to always have a sprinkling of 1 or 2 in there, just to keep the Irish people entertained.
So if we get more into the talk show, Paddy.
Absolutely.
I've been using my platform to spread awareness about Duchenne muscular dystrophy. So over the last few weeks, I've been showing different stages of Duchenne, and the information that you can see will be on the bottom of the screen. This week, I'm doing ages 9 to 13 of this stage 3. Let's please help all spread awareness about it. Well, I'll get into the talk show, Paddy.
Great stuff. And fair play to you for using your platform to share it. It's very important that everybody awareness is sometimes with an illness is more important than raising funds. So the more people that know about it, the better.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. And so we'll talk a bit about international football first. Do you think this international break will affect the team's momentum and performances?
I hope not. It seems to have come at a good time for those that weren't involved in international football. I've seen some of the players away on holidays. Dougie Luiz got back to Brazil. I was looking at Diego Carlos on holidays in Santorini. And I think for some people, this is especially the likes of Douglas Luiz, who needed a break. It's come at a really, really good time for those guys. Yeah. It's not the difference between international break for international players. The most taxing part of that is the actual travel to get to where they need to play. So, for the likes of the Ollie Watkins joining up with England, the training won't be too heavy. It'll just be all tactics work on how they want to play, as opposed to the everyday running and racing that goes on at Bodymore Heath. So I hope for everybody they got some element of a break. It was great to see, like John McGinn, Pau Torres qualifying for the World Cup. Ollie Watkins getting a goal. You know, all of these things contribute to the mental of the game for the players, and you would hope that they would come back on top of their game and you know, really get stuck in and just be buzzing off the fact that they've qualified for the World Cup. Leon Bailey went to Jamaica and scored a goal. He should be buzzing. So there's so much to look forward to. While I don't really agree with the amount of breaks we have for international football, I think the whole thing goes on way too long now. But we just it's you know, and don't get me wrong, I'm a big fan of international football. I was at the Republic of Ireland game on Friday night. I go to some away games as well. I'm a big fan of international football, but I just think there's too much of it. There's too many breaks in the league, and I would prefer to see maybe one of them, possibly this one or the November one, taken out in favour of a rest for the players, because I have no doubt that they could add one of those games into the summer break that they have around the qualifications there and just do it a little bit differently.
Because I'm really happy for Ollie Watkins scoring to impress Southgate. He worked hard for it as well.
Absolutely. Like, we've seen a whole new Ollie Watkins since Unai Emery came in just under a year ago. I was of the opinion that maybe it was time to cut our losses and sell him on a year ago. And now we have a completely different player who has been trained properly by a decent manager who's done a really, really good job with him where he lost his way under Steven Gerrard. So I'm very happy for him on a personal level to get, you know, the adulation of playing and the absolute honour of playing for your country, because that is the pinnacle of what you can do. And, you know, even if it is only a handful of caps, for people to get that, just to be recognised for what they're doing, is amazing. I feel sorry for the likes of Ezri Konsa, who I felt should be in there.
He should have been.
Absolutely. I just don't know what he has to do. I really didn't know what Ollie Watkins had to do. But, you know, I don't have a whole lot of love for Gareth Southgate and the way he speaks about players. Doesn't really bring me with any confidence. And the worrying thing from my point of view is that, you know, if he stays on for a long period of time, that players start to think, you know, am I wasting my time at Aston Villa? Am I never going to get an international call-up because I'm at Aston Villa? And it starts to affect us. And that is my worry when it comes to players like these. But we've tied down Ollie Watkins, we've tied down Ezri Konsa, so we don't have to worry about those players. But, you know, you have to wonder, was there some factor in it, in Jack leaving and stuff like that over the years?
Yeah.
So many times players could have played for their country and didn't, that played for Aston Villa. You know, so I think it's important that when they're playing well, they're picked. Like, I don't believe for any 1 minute that any football fan believes that Harry Maguire should be in there ahead of Ezri Konsa. It just makes absolutely no sense to me.
But even when Watkins, when he doesn't score, I like his other attributes as well.
Well, he's such a hard worker, isn't he? And don't get me wrong, I believe that's changed, as I said, since last year. I actually thought under Gerrard he was quite withdrawn from himself and you know, withdrawn from the bunch and just seemed to, you know, wander out of position and play very wide. And Unai Emery is just, he has told us, Ollie Watkins has told us in interviews, he's asked him to play through the middle. He's asked him to play between the two lines of the box and stay in there. And that's where you ultimately get your chances to score goals. And the goals are coming. Yes, he misses some. That's fine. Erling Haaland misses some. But he's definitely scoring a lot more than he was before Unai Emery came in.
Even the work off the ball as well.
Incredible work off the ball. And that's what you want from a player. Even when he's not scoring, he's getting into positions to get those shots on target, get them wide, create goals for others. His goal creation and his goal involvement stats are very, very high too. So at the moment, he's absolutely everything we need. There was a time where I thought we needed an upgrade, but sometimes we all have to hold our hands up and admit when we were wrong. And hopefully for many years to come, I hope he goes on and really knocks Gabby's record out of the park?
Because going back to international football, a lot of the fixtures are very congested. I don't think it helps teams like us who play in Europe.
Well, at the moment, it hasn't affected us too much. We've bounced back fairly well from our European games. We obviously won that game at Brighton. We were probably unlucky not to get the penalty at Molineux. So there's a lot of ways of looking at it, but we're fifth in the league, despite having played those European games, even though we've had some terrible injuries that have really cost us.
We don't get much luck with injuries.
No, we haven't. And it's just as well we have those few extra bodies in there that have signed, because, you know, when you take Buendia, Jacob Ramsey and Tyrone Mings into consideration, they would have been probably nailed on starters or start most games in Buendia's case. So to have extra bodies in there and to have plenty of backup, it just shows how important it is to have a strong squad. And even when the season kicked off, we thought to ourselves, there's probably just a little bit too short of bodies, but he has managed them well. As I said, some of them got a break this week. I think that was vital, and you know, I'm really looking forward to see how we bounce back this weekend, because it really is a huge game.
Oh, and also, Paddy, I don't really know much about the Republic of Ireland, the national team. But will they qualify for the Euros, do you think?
No, very, very unlikely. There is a small possibility that they will get a playoff, but it's not even a playoff based on the league standings, as far as I know. So it's going to be really, really difficult to qualify. Nobody's expecting it. We're really at the lowest we've been in many, many years. Nobody is expecting anything from the group of players, and they've more or less said that the manager who is in place at the moment will leave his role at the end of this qualifying campaign. So we could be looking for a new manager this time next month in the next international break. So it's unfortunate, but rebuilding needs to start now, because obviously, as we know, the Britain and Ireland have been picked to host the next Euros. So by the time that rocks around in 5 years' time, we need to be in a better place to either qualify or be in consideration from one of the two free places that get from the competition itself. So we obviously don't want to be in a competition where we're going to embarrass ourselves either. So we've got 5 years. There's some good young players there ready to come through at under 18 and under 21 level, and not quite ready yet. We do have a very hot property in Evan Ferguson, so we need to build a team around him. We need to get the right players in around him to get him firing the way he does for Brighton. And you know, while I'm not completely downbeat about where we are, we just needs to change the manager and look to the future now and make sure, because the next appointment, I think, is vital for us.
Because when did Ireland last get in a major tournament?
2016 was the last one. We got
the Euros.
The Euros in France, yeah. We didn't. We got to the second round after drawing with Sweden, losing to Belgium, and then magnificently beating Italy 1-0 in the final group game.
Yeah.
So, and then we eventually went out to the host France in the next round. But we did okay in that under Martin O'Neill, but unfortunately we haven't really bounced anywhere near where that team has performed. So it's all been about rebuilding since then. So 7 years on, we've seen most of those players move on, and it's just all about now aiming towards getting those young players up to speed and creating a team that's capable of getting to a tournament.
Yeah, hopefully in the future.
Pardon?
Hopefully in the future.
Hopefully in the future, yeah, absolutely.
So what do you expect from England versus Italy tomorrow?
I'm really looking forward to that one. The one unfortunate thing is that we won't see Zaniolo in that. I was looking forward to seeing him play in England and see how he adjusted his game to playing against guys that he's playing week in, week out against. So that's unfortunate. but they always deliver a good game. Two evenly matched teams, two of the best teams in Europe, and I think there'll be a lot of people gathered around the TV tomorrow waiting for it.
Because I always got bad memories from an England lost on penalties.
Yeah, from the Euros a couple of years
The
ago.
Euro final.
Yeah,
It always haunts me that.
yeah, it's just so well. You just gotta hope that that was the next step. They were getting to semi-final after semi-final after semi-final. Then to get to the final and lose a final, you gotta hope that the next one is that they get to a final and actually win it. I do believe that they may need a new manager and a new change in direction to do that, because if not, the golden era, and it is a golden era of English players that are there, may go to waste. So just with a little bit of tinkering and maybe some new fresh ideas, who knows? You might be looking at getting to a World Cup final or a Euros final.
Do you remember when Chiellini pulled Saka's shirt?
The referee missed it.
Yeah, it was a bad decision, that was.
Yeah. They've a habit of missing those big decisions, don't they?
Well, I think it's going to be an interesting game. But I think it'd be exciting as well. Going
Absolutely.
Italy, they have some great attacking players. And with good youth as well.
Yeah, good, two good attacking sides, and plenty of width there as well with the fullbacks and the wingers. Plenty of speed. I'm expecting an end-to-end game. I think that's what we grow to expect when you see like both teams should really qualify anyway, but you want to qualify winning your group, so you expect them to have like a cup tie tomorrow night where they go at each other and hope that we see a good attacking, free flowing game and plenty of goals. I think England will nick this, but I'm going to go 3-2. I think there will be plenty of goals.
Well, it's been a new era for Italian football. Could have changed a lot of the behind the scenes as well.
They have, yeah. There's a lot going on. Unfortunately, they're back to dealing with scandals again with Zaniolo and Tonali from last week, which is really unfortunate. But when you've got some amazing players in there, everything seems to have changed. Even watching Italian club football has changed from the boring, methodical passing the ball, really, really slowly. It's a lot better and a lot more attacking once they cross the halfway line. And they've got really, really good players and players that are capable of hurting you. So I'm hoping that doesn't overshadow what they're trying to do. They've obviously removed those two players from the squad, which is unfortunate for our player. We don't know the full extent of it yet, so we don't want to say too much. But it's that's the only cloud over this. What should be an amazing game, we would imagine.
Watching Italian football, it really fascinates me. And they need to massively improve. Because they have underachieved in previous years since winning the Euros.
They have.
They didn't qualify.
They failed to qualify for the World Cup then, didn't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, which is unheard of for Italy. Such a world star on the international stage. I was lucky enough when I was really young to go to the World Cup in Italy in 1990 when Ireland first qualified.
That was incredible, that was.
Oh, it was just the most amazing holiday of a lifetime to go and see Ireland play at a World Cup and be able to watch countries like England, Holland, Italy, Argentina, West Germany at the time. All of these amazing, Brazil. I got to see Maradona play. I was just totally blessed with that World Cup.
What was it like watching Maradona?
Oh my God, he was just an amazing player, absolutely amazing player. That was probably him at his peak. They did eventually lose the final, but to get to see him play was just a dream for me, because I only started watching football during the 1986 World Cup, and he just absolutely fascinated me. He was a first player that really attracted me to football. So it was an absolute pleasure to get to say I was able to see him just once. Only got one opportunity, but I'll treasure that opportunity that I get to see him play.
Because he is very gifted.
Oh, he's amazing, and for such a small man as well, an amazing turn of pace. And the ball just stuck to his foot. He just had an incredible dribbling skills, as England know with that goal in Mexico '86. Not the one that he's more famous for. Yeah, but we won't talk about the other goal that he scored in that game. But the goal where he ran from the halfway line with the ball basically stuck to his foot, it was just incredible to watch. I don't think there'll ever be an individual goal like it ever again. In that stage to do it at a World Cup finals is absolutely incredible. We've seen Ryan Giggs do it at Villa Park against Arsenal. It was very similar type of goal, probably beat more people in the run, but those goals are very few and far between now because there's so many different tactics and layouts and defensive setups when you lose the ball. But there was just nobody getting the ball off him that day.
Did Paul Gascoigne for the 1990 World Cup, did he, for England?
He did, yeah, absolutely. I would have seen him play a few times for Spurs against Villa over the years, but he played against Ireland in that match. I'm sure he did, if memory serves me correct. We actually drew with England in Sardinia. Gary Lineker scored first, and Kevin Sheedy equalised. But amazing noise, amazing to be able to say you got to a World Cup. I'll probably never get to a World Cup again with Ireland, unfortunately, because I just don't think we'll ever be good enough to be getting to that stage. But we can only hope, and that's why we go to football, isn't it? We hope that our team will get there. Same with Villa. We've been through all those terrible years for the last 13 years, and here we are back in Europe, back on the periphery of Champions League.
It makes the good times more enjoyable.
That's what it is, isn't it? If you take those bad times and park them, and remember, in the bad times we had each other, we had fun. We got to see different clubs and different people coming to Villa Park. When we were down in the Championship, we got trips to Wembley. There was plenty of high points there, but we're definitely out the other side, and we're playing with the big boys now. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what Unai Emery does in the medium term, as opposed to hoping that this happens quicker. But we seem to be a lot further down the line than any of us ever expected. So it's amazing.
Because Unai Emery is a pure genius.
Absolutely, yeah. You're speaking to the leader of his fan club here. I absolutely adore the man. He will make mistakes. Things will go wrong. Newcastle will go wrong. Things like that will happen. The not being able to turn over Wolves last weekend, that will happen. But we got to, as we just said, we got to take the good with the bad, and I think there will be probably 90% good and 10% bad. And I think if we're doing that, we'll be there or thereabouts for Champions League football at the end of the season, and we'll do very well in Europe.
Because on average, we're getting 2 points per game, and that would be enough to get you at least in Europe.
Well, that's it. If you can get it up to 2.3, 2.4, then you're looking at Champions League football, almost guaranteed. It's just getting to that level, and we probably will need a couple of players come January to bring them up to that level. And if we do get them, I think we'll blow the opposition away. If he can bring in who he wants to bring in, it's going to be amazing. And I think everybody is super excited for what this man can do, because it's quite obvious he's got something really special about him.
He probably could win a trophy.
Well, that's what we all want, isn't it?
Silverware.
I know at this stage, if you offered me Champions League football over an FA Cup or a Conference League, I'd probably take it, because I've waited all these years for us to get Champions League football. just to get inside Villa Park and hear that Champions League anthem and know that we're eating at the top table of European football and the money is coming in order to help with financial fair play and get the best players we can possibly put on the pitch at Villa Park. That's what we all want. So if you were to ask me the question, which would I prefer? I prefer Champions League football because it means that we are really, really doing well and we're flying. So that's what I want from this season. I'm hoping a bit too high, but if we got it, I just think it would be an incredible achievement.
And going back to international football, who do you think is the best Republic of Ireland player?
Well, as I said earlier, Evan Ferguson, and I'm a little bit biased because he's a family friend. I played football with his uncle, and my dad played with his grandfather. I did, yeah. So I'll tell you a funny story. I don't think I've even said this on our podcast. When Evan was 15, I got in touch with Aston Villa to try and get them to have a look at him, and he never heard anything from Aston Villa. So they did have an opportunity to go and look for him, and it never happened, unfortunately. But yeah, I was trying my damnedest because it was quite obvious they had this huge 6 foot plus at 15 years of age that was playing senior football for a centre forward, a real old style centre forward, just to offer something different in attack. And and Brighton came in and took him away, and look where he's gone. He's gone from strength to strength since he went there. So he's our great white hope. We've a number of youngsters capable of coming through if they're nurtured and trained properly. But what we're finding is most of our players are struggling to get in at their club level. We do have a couple of really good goalkeepers. We've Gavin Bazunu at Southampton. We've Caoimhín Kelleher at Liverpool. Yeah. We've Nathan Collins, who's at Brentford now. And the spine is there. It's just a question of bringing in just a few more players just to make up and make us a little bit stronger.
He's a very exciting young striker. He has scored a lot of goals, especially considering how old he is as well.
Absolutely. And like at 15 years of age, he played against Chelsea in a friendly for Bohemians in Ireland. That's how highly thought of he was. So he can only get better as long as he doesn't burn out. And they seem to be managing his game time really well at Brighton. He doesn't start every game. They pick and choose the ones that are going to suit his style. So I think he's been really well looked after there. And, I think they're just phasing him in as opposed to him starting every week.
Because Roberto De Zerbi, he's nurtured him really well.
He absolutely has. And you see like when he brings him in, then he gets the best out of him. He got that hat-trick against Newcastle, wasn't it? Newcastle he got that hat-trick against?
Yeah, he was, yeah.
Yeah. And then he could quite easily stand him down, as we've seen in recent weeks, and leave him out. And that's absolutely fine. If you've got a good manager that knows how to manage your game time at a young age. If you look at some of the players, like for example, Michael Owen, who was thrown in very early, he burned out very quickly and picked up a lot of injuries later in his career. So if you manage it properly, you can do really well out of young players.
Yeah, Paddy, just have a drink.
No problem. Take your time.
Well, we'll talk about Sunday's game, Paddy. What do you expect from West Ham United game on Sunday?
Well, what I hope and what I expect are two different things. I hope that we can get 3 points and continue on where we left off. Obviously, we didn't get 3 points against Wolves, but we very nearly did steal the points in the end, but Ollie Watkins having hit the post and could have got a penalty right at the end. But it's going to be a difficult game. The one thing you will get from a David Moyes team is a very structured and defensive team when they lose the ball. So with a couple of additions in there, we'll see a completely different the likes of Ward-Prowse is in there now, and they don't have Declan Rice in there, so the midfield is a little bit different. If you're looking at Ward-Prowse and Alvarez as opposed to Rice and Souček, it's a completely different dynamic in the middle of the park. And then again, he's just done really well with let's just say a good players. They're not world beaters by any stretch of the imagination. But look, he's a really good manager. If you take out what he did at Manchester United, everything he's done has been really, really positive.
Well, he's got a lot of Premier League experience, don't in the ways.
Absolutely, yeah. And he's got a lot of players in there with Premier League experience to help him out. And then, you look at all the players that he has in attack, the likes of Jared Bowen, the likes of Paqueta, Antonio, Kudus, and then we have our old mate Danny Ings is still there as well. So there's plenty in attack. Fornals who have left out as well. Defensively, I think is where we can get at them. There's a bit leggy in defence. I think they're capable of shipping goals. They're having a decent enough season. They're only a couple of points behind us. There's no reason why they won't be there or thereabouts as well. Providing Europe doesn't take its toll, I think they'll be back up in those European places again. European places and injuries don't take their toll. I think they'll be okay.
We got a poor record to get to West Ham at Villa Park in previous seasons. Did we lose now last season? 4-1, wasn't it, we lost?
I can't remember.
I think it might have been like near Remembrance Day. I'm trying to think now. Well, that was the season before, maybe.
Did we play West Ham before Emery came in? I honestly can't remember.
Yeah, it might have been still with Steven Gerrard, I think.
Yeah, that's an era I'm trying to forget. Yeah, but in general, we don't do well against West Ham. I think they've been a bit of a bogey side for us over the years.
A little bit.
Yeah, I don't remember. Did we win last year at the London Stadium? I don't remember us winning.
It is a draw.
Yeah. Yeah, I did. And then in another year, Ollie Watkins had a goal ruled out. It was narrowly offside. We had the game that kept us up as well, which is the one that sticks in my mind when Jack scored that goal, and then they scored nearly straight away. But there were big celebrations on the pitch for the players after staying up. That was probably the most important game against West Ham in recent years.
Because I'm really looking forward to this game. You got both decent Premier League teams. They both have good quality. And also, both teams, last season, they had successful seasons, both qualifying for Europe.
Absolutely. And they won the Conference League last season.
Yeah, that's right, yes.
Yeah, and they did really, really well. It's a huge achievement for them as a club. So they'll be, they're a force to be reckoned with, and they, the only thing that worries, as I said previously, if they're short on players or if they're picking up injuries, and they've definitely got game changers either in the side or the starting side or off the bench. I think Kudus is going to be a great signing for them. I think he will terrorize defenses as the league goes on and he gets up to the speed of the Premier League. So there's a lot to be worried about, but I'm just so looking forward to this. Is my first trip to Villa Park this season, and I'm just so looking forward to getting over there on Sunday and seeing all my old friends. Yeah, I really hope we do. So I get to go and meet my old friends and sit in the seat and talk to the friends around me that I've made over the years. So to me, that's the special part about Sunday.
Where do you sit at Villa Park?
I sit just under the H there behind you in your picture in the Holt end. Where L3 is where I sit, just behind the goal to the left of it. So yeah, it's we've had them since just before the relegation, and we wouldn't give them up for the world. We don't get to every game, but somebody usually uses them if we're not there. But we're blessed that we got those season tickets when we did, because I'd hate to be on that list now trying to get back into season tickets at Villa Park, because it's going to be a few years and hopefully a whole lot longer by the time we get to fill. Hopefully there will forever be a list for season ticket holders there, that we get to fill the 50,000 seater stadium. That means we're being successful, and be the pride of the Midlands forever.
Oh, I sit in the Trinity Road.
Very good. I've seen your pictures from the corner of the Trinity Road under the scoreboard, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a good seats.
Excellent. They did a great job on the Trinity Road when they built it. It's such a great vantage point until you're up in the gods. I don't like being up in the third tier of the Trinity Road. I've been up there a few times. It's like watching Newcastle away.
Well, I know you touched on the install it there. What's your thoughts about David Moyes?
He's an excellent manager. He brings a wealth of experience, both as a player and as a manager. He's done an excellent job at Everton. He's done an amazing job at West Ham. He's plenty of experience. He's European experience. It's hard to believe there was a point last season where people were suggesting that he should be sacked. And now here he is after winning a European trophy and in the top half of the table, pushing again for Europe again this year. And I've no doubt in my mind he's a very clever manager, and he will lead them into the knockout stages of the Europa League as well.
Well, I think David Moyes is one of the most underrated managers in the Premier League, I think.
Absolutely. You know what you're going to get with him. He won't accept players not pulling their weight. You're always going to get a big, strong nucleus of a side and a sprinkling of flair players around them, and he expects those big, strong players to put the work rate in, and then feed off whatever the extra talent and the likes of Kudus and Bowen and players like that really suit his style of play, so they can always have the back four and a couple protecting while the rest of them just go and do their stuff. But he'll always be really well defensively drilled. Obviously you get games, even we saw Brighton ship 6 against us, we saw us ship the goals against Newcastle. These things happen. But, in general, his teams are well drilled, set up very well defensively. And you never truly know until the game kicks off how you're going to line up against them or how they're going to combat your attack. So he's a good tactician, a real old school Scottish manager, doesn't take any crap off the players, just drills them really, really well and rewards the hard-working players for their place in the team.
Well, fair play to the West Ham board. They made a great decision sticking with him during tough times.
They certainly did, and sacking the manager is not always the answer. So if you can get a good manager in there, while everybody is not going to be happy all of the time, you can be guaranteed that the good times will outweigh the bad times. We've seen the fair share of managers come and go. Some of them left abruptly, like Martin O'Neill. Some were sacked. Yeah. By God, if we had some bad managers over the last 13 years, we've had some very good ones there too of late. To have Unai Emery, to have Dean Smith getting us back into the Premier League, who shouldn't be forgotten. But before that, we've had some poor managers. So, to get the right manager in, longevity is the most important thing. Then, if you pick the right one, you got to stick with them and give them all the tools they need and all the players they need to make sure that the job is done correctly. And the West Ham board must be commended for keeping him in there when the pressure was on there last year.
We're going back to Gerard Bowen. He supports Aston Villa.
Does he?
Yeah, he was playing for West Ham.
I never knew that.
Yeah. I heard that before. Yeah.
Wow. And we made an attempt to sign him, didn't we, before he went to West Ham? I think Dean Smith did try and sign him. Yeah, that's an unusual one, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, I think he's somewhere from the Midlands, I think he's from.
Very interesting. A new one on me.
But Paddy, I'll tell you what, this one stat I found out about Aston Villa West Ham. In the Premier League, they've faced each other 24 times, 6 Aston Villa wins, 9 draws, and 9 West Ham United wins.
I think that backs up what we said, that they're a bit of a bogey side. You know, in recent years, I remember mostly draws, but you know, in years gone by, it seemed to be defeats. So you know, 6-24 is not a good record. So hopefully we can start improving that record at the weekend by getting 3 points. I think it would be vital to us pushing on into the winter and keeping us strong in the league while keeping a close eye on what we're doing in Europe.
And also, Paddy, I know you know what I'm doing on the podcast, but can you spread the word about it for me?
Absolutely, mate. 100%. I really admire what you're doing here, and absolutely I'll share it everywhere for you.
Thank you very much.
No problem at all.
Paddy, did you predict, was it 3-2 for the game?
I predicted 3-2 for England tomorrow night, didn't I?
What Villa?
Well, those that watch our podcast will tell you that I don't predict until I see what team he puts out on the pitch. But because you had me on here, I feel I have to predict something. So I'm going to do the same as the England match and go for a 3-2 Villa win. I think there'll be goals in it. I think it'll be 2 attacking sides going for each other. And hopefully the master tactician, Unai Emery, comes out on top with a 3-2 win.
Nice one. But I'm going to go for a 1-0 Villa. It's going to be tight. I'm going to go 1-0.
Very good. I'll take that too. That'll do. And anything that has a smile on my face getting back on that plane on Sunday night, I'll be very, very happy.
Well, I'm going to read at some of your live comments. That's on the key comments. Well, John Blevins, he's my uncle. He put Defo, Ezri Konsa, should be in the England side. Without a doubt, definitely should be.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we have a comment from Daniela Stewart. Aston Villa are not ready for Champions League football yet, so calm down the tad. If we have 2 or 3 years in the Conference League or Europa League, first team to play, the first learn to play league and European football, then go for the Champions League. From a Hammers fan.
Well, nice to have you in, Daniela, a Hammers fan. I don't believe there's any right time to get Champions League football. I think if you're lucky enough to be in that position, you've got to cut your cloth to fit and get the players in that you need to compete at that level. So I think that it could very easily happen, and we will need to do that if it does happen. If it doesn't, so be it. I'd be very, very happy to play European football in some form next season. But the goal has to be Champions League football for me. In order to compete with the big boys, we need to be playing as high in Europe as we possibly can. If not next year, the year after or the year after that. But we all, as fans, are impatient, and all we want is our team to do well. So if we can't dream, what can we do? We have to dream. We have to dream big.
When you look at Newcastle, look what they achieved.
Absolutely, and got an amazing result in the process. You know, they'll more than likely get out of that group now if they continue the way they're going. So you just never know. And the great thing about Newcastle, although they've spent a lot of money this summer, they got to the position that they're in mainly with the players they already had, which is what Unai Emery is doing exactly the same with us. So while you will have to spend the 50 millions on the Diabis and the 50 millions on the Sandro Tonalis or whoever your club decide to spend the money on, in order to push on, you do need to spend that kind of money. So yeah, there's no reason why we couldn't do what Newcastle have done. But as I said, if not this year, we're definitely in the right place with the best manager to do so.
Unai Emery, if he joined Aston Villa the start of last season, we probably would have been in the top 4.
Well, the form table from when he joined will tell you that he is. I know that's not a full view of what it looks like, because you haven't played both teams twice or every team twice in that time. So it just gives you a marker as opposed to being gospel. But we have to consider that we're definitely a contender to get up there. We may fall short if we keep picking up injuries like we are. I've no doubt we will fall short. But the great thing is we're probably 5 or 6 games away from the transfer window reopening. If we can manage the coming weeks, I think are vital for our season. We've obviously got big Premier League games, but we've got a lot of hard ones out of the way. We've got very winnable ones now against West Ham, Fulham, Luton.
Mm-hmm.
If we can pick up points in those as well as winning our European games, and we can get to Christmas by still being in Europe after Christmas and still being in and around those European positions with a little bit of strength, with a little bit of backup brought in, I think we can do really well after Christmas.
Well, I got another comment from Daniela Stewart. There has been a lot of draws in this game in the past.
Yeah, and your stats back that up. We 9 draws, 9 defeats, and 6 wins. That's our record against
Good,
West Ham.
Average. That's a good average for draws. Yeah. And John Blevins, West Ham, another good team that should not be underestimated.
Yeah, and look, a lot of us underestimated Wolves at the weekend, who managed to get their tactics right. We might not agree with how they ground out that draw, but they did get a win against Man City the week before, so you can never be too sure what team is going to show up on the day. But I would imagine our very competitive manager is not going to underestimate anybody and is going to be prepared. As
you can think of Warsaw. I think we underestimated them.
I think we did. I think we went in a little bit too negative maybe in that game. We made too many changes. Our first game back in Europe, we probably should have treated it as a cup tie as opposed to one of the league games of that format. It was going to be our toughest game away to Warsaw and away to Alkmaar. Obviously, going to be our toughest game. I suppose the bizarre thing with Mostar beating Alkmaar at home has really left the league wide open now, so it's made every game really, really important that we treat them with enough respect. Like we really left it late against Mostar, and that would have left us in a horrible position.
It's important we won that.
Absolutely, that is a vital goal to score so late in that game. So if we can go and maybe pick up a point at Alkmaar, that might be enough, and then we go and play Alkmaar at home, and we play Legia Warsaw at home, both winnable games at home with the crowd behind us. There's no reason why we shouldn't. And then it could come down to beating Mostar away on the last one of the Europa League or the Conference League. So it's an interesting few weeks away. As I said, up to Christmas. If we can get into that transfer window, still competing in Europe and in the league, we'll be in a really good place.
I'll go to the next comment. If I scroll down it. Dear Gordon Heath, can't wait for North Stand to be knocked down and rebuilt.
I think everybody's the same, aren't they? It's just My first season ticket was in the North Stand, believe it or not, back in the 90s.
I'll read one more comment.
Yeah.
Daniela Stewart. I thought Bowen was a Liverpool fan. No, Die Hard Hammer. No, he's definitely a Villa fan. I found out from last year as a Sky Sports spoke about it. And that's how I found out. He was in a game, they mentioned it.
All right. Very good. I didn't know either way, but I find it intriguing when you find out things like that about players and who they used to support as a kid. That's what worried me about Ollie Watkins, knowing that Arsenal had sniffed around him for a while, and him being an Arsenal fan. It's really, really good that we got him tied down into a contract now, so we can relax a little bit.
But Paddy, I'm going to bring this episode to a close. Thank you everyone for watching. If you've enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe to my channel, like and share it. Also, make sure to get your post notifications turned on as well. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Thank you so much, Paddy, for your time.
My pleasure.
The last thing that is left to say is, up the Villa.
Up the Villa.